Okay, I think we can start. Okay, I think we can start. The repair is now, it seems that they have repaired the microphone. So unless somebody in the classroom is jamming, I think I will be able to talk in a reasonable way today. I cannot say anything for next week. Now, you have two different things that I am distributing. One of them is lecture notes. The other one is an example. And so it is still coming all the way to the back. I have one announcement. Well, I have two announcements, actually. One of them is about midterms. Unfortunately, I became a little bit masochistic this year. I am grading everything. So I graded your stage A of term paper, which took a long time. And I am also grading the exams. So I have put priority on the term papers. And I'm hoping that I will be able, well, I was hoping that I will be able to finish by the end of this week, coming week. So I'm hoping that there will be something announced on Monday at least, but we'll see. It depends on how fast I will be able to work. Okay, I know that you are aware of the fact that it will take some time for me to grade those. So thanks for your patience. But next time, for the next midterm, I think I will be able to read it much faster. Now, for the final, we have the deadline. So don't worry, I will be able to read it very quickly. Okay. The second announcement is about the term papers. Now, I have a few other words to say about the term paper, but in general, I am very happy with the research that you took. You read some articles, and of course, there are some of them which did not confirm my expectations. That's something else. But one thing that I observed, I think you can make better use of the student assistants. The ones who made use of student assistants received considerably higher grades. So this doesn't mean that if you didn't spend any time with the TA, with the student assistant, you didn't receive 10. You did, but chances that for those of you who did not pay any attention to work with student assistants and did not do well, you can at least think of working with them. If I were you, I would at least see them once and talk about, they are going to be people who are going to be graduating this semester. At least to know some people like this is going to be of some help. And so if I were you, I would spend some time to make some contact with them. Now, in the meantime, I will probably send you, just for the fun of it, a video of one of the TED Talks. Are you aware of the TED Talks? Okay, very good. Okay, so one of the recent ones, well, recent means 2 years for me. So one of the recent ones is about the information technology, use of information technology, of somebody who was an advocate of information technology in 1995, 1996. She wrote a number of books about the use of information technology, the benefits that it will bring to humanity. She's a psychologist, and it is basically her repeat talk, which was made in 2012 and 2013, about how information technologies are keeping basically away the regular conversations that we used to help. Now, I am connecting this to your connection with the student assistants, because I think only talking through them via emails and so on may not be sufficient to understand certain other things that you might want to get. So that talk is actually very good for that. I'll send the address if they don't close YouTube, of course. I will be able to send the address. Now, one good news, of course, is Twitter is probably going to be opened formally, and because of the court order. Now, you can say the following, by the way. who is this guy talking about tweets and so on? I am not using Twitter. I am not using Facebook. I am not using anything but only email. But in the university, it's my role to make sure that all kinds of communication possibilities that you have should be allowed in the society. I'm not a political person, okay? But I know that those are the things that should be available and open to everybody. So please, when you are considering my words against the government or against the politicians and so on, take it as somebody who is in the university and who believes in dissemination of information in the freest possible way. Okay? So that's the reason why I'm sometimes very angry. Sometimes I am more cool. But that's the purpose. So I have nothing against your beliefs, nothing against your political supports and so on and so forth. That's another thing. But I believe that you need to have all the information availability in front of you in order to make up your decisions. That's the role that I am having here. Okay. Do you all have any questions that you may want to ask at this stage? Okay, do you all have two different things, copies of two different things? Okay, so please calm down. Whichever is what you need, you pick it up. Okay. Now, today we're going to talk about decision-making under multiple criteria. So up to this point, we were trying to avoid the possibility of having more than one performance measure at a time. We know that we have a lot of performance measures that we may want to think, but today we're going to formally approach the problem where we have multiple criteria. I'll make some introduction, and then after that we're going to actually discuss how you selected your university. So I will make use of the board and mark what you are expecting from that selection. Okay. Now, first of all, some simple issues on the term paper. I have written comments on the first stage. Okay. I have written those comments. Please read those very carefully. And if you have any questions, you can ask me. Any questions? Okay, then cool down. I will be talking, okay? Not you. Okay, maybe in a few years you will take the stage. Okay, and so there are a number of things that you have to be very careful, and that's one of the reasons why your student assistants will be able to help you on those. Essay writing is not that straightforward and simple. You are writing some essays in your English courses. This is going to be similar to that, but I have other expectations that I have already specified to you. Issues of dishonesty is extremely important. I am very serious on this. So you are not allowed to do any cut and paste. It would require a disciplinary action. I have seen on some of the proposals that they simply took some parts from the article that they were referring. Now, I didn't do anything because this is sort of like the beginning, because you only had 2 sentences there. But if you continue on having that, I will definitely take a disciplinary action. Please read the booklet. The booklet writes everything very clearly. And my policy of dishonesty also writes things very clearly. Please obey those. This is extremely important. More important than anything that you learn. Because I want you to be good citizens before being good students, okay? Good citizenship is more important, okay? It will affect everything. If you don't learn something, it is only going to affect you. Okay. Now, one thing that I want to discuss with you is the fact that I can see from the term paper proposals that you have unconditionally, you accept everything that you read. Now, if it is about a figure, for example, a figure about how nations are doing in terms of something, and it has a reference, of course, I can understand that that's a fact, that's an information, so you should rely on that information when you are making a discussion. However, you shouldn't be having unconditional acceptance of ideas and claims that are given in that article. You can say the author suggests that, or you can say the author claims that, but it shouldn't be what your claim, it shouldn't be exactly your claim. Because basically you need to learn more before you can do any claims on the subject. Okay? This is very important. Okay? So in Turkish we have a saying, dolduruşa gelmek. Okay? You are simply not resisting on anything that you read. You understand, you believe, and you perform. No, that's not the case. You have to critically examine everything before you make a suggestion. Okay? So please be careful on these type of issues when you are proposing, when you are giving your second proposal. Okay, is anybody hearing a noise? Is it bothering you? Who's bothered? Huh? After I say it's bothered, so it shouldn't bother you. No, don't worry. Okay. Let's continue, and I don't know why this is happening, but okay. Let's continue a little bit. Any questions on this? This is something that I wrote, but I wanted to talk about that. Okay, now let's recall what we did last week. Okay, performance measures. We talked about performance measures. We considered a single decision problem, and each of the performance measures that we talked about is measuring a different aspect of the problem of concern. Okay? So this is usually structured problems. Think about the shortest path problem. It's very structured, isn't it? You know the elements of the problem, and you simply compute or find out the paths that will take you from one node to the other in the shortest possible distance with minimum cost. Now, this is a structured problem. However, most of the problems that we see in real life, including the problems that uses shortest path problem as a part of it, are very unstructured. So what you need is you need to have some kind of a methodological approach to solve these less structured problems as well. Okay? And we're going to talk about those less structured problems. Now, of course, in the courses, you're going to see some problems, how we can structure them. You will learn how to structure them. But at the same time, for example, in your project course or in some elective courses, you're going to see how to deal with less structured problems. But in general, the reality is that we always have less structured problems. This is an example for decision process. Decision is also a process. You are trying to decide on something. And this is a process that you're going to see, which can simply be devised by a smart person. So we are not going to see anything fancy here. But I think it is going to bring certain notions together and to see how one will be able to do that. Now, so what we are going to consider is a problem environment where we have a number of alternatives. Let's say you are entering the university exam and you want to select your university. Okay? So what are the alternatives? Alternatives are different universities that you can select as ranked number 1. Okay? Now, you do have implicitly a set of criteria. Now, what do I mean by criteria? I'm going to relate criteria to performance measure. But criteria is like the unrealized version of performance measure. What do I mean by unrealized version? You have certain notions in mind. For example, how good is that school academically? This is actually a criteria. How expensive is the environment? This is another criteria. These are the type of criteria that we should have around us, which is very realistic again. And I'm going to ask the criteria that you had when you were deciding this in a while. And then what you need to have is you need to have an approach to score each alternative for each criteria. So for example, Bilkent, according to this criteria, what is the score of Bilkent? So on and so on. You have to have an approach to do that. And at the top of that, you need to have an approach. Oh, it's exactly the same thing. Okay. Is it the same thing in your notes as well? Okay. Then we need to have an approach that will combine all the criteria together. Okay? So that is what you need to write there. I will correct that and post it at the web. Okay? So you need an approach to combine different criteria so that you reflect your own priorities. Okay, we're going to talk about that. Okay. Now let's look at the single page that I distributed. Okay? Now, in this example, this is an example taken from a journal. It's basically an example of how to select. Let's say that you are going to have a construction job, and you want to select one of the possible contractors to do that job. Well, instead of saying you, let's say your city wants to do that. Okay, because this might be quite an involved job. So I am assuming that we don't have any legal tenders that they should follow. So there is a group of people, or maybe a single person, who is going to decide which contractor to pick up for the job. Now, the first column, if you look at the first column, are possible criteria that we might have for this problem specifically. So for example, if you want to let somebody else to do the job for you, you are going to look for the experience of that company. So the first criteria is experience. We don't know how we are going to measure, but we need to look at the experience. The second one is financial stability. You don't want the company to bankrupt while doing your business. Okay? The third one is quality performance. What are the past jobs that they have done? Are they really surviving or not? Think about the pavements in Ankara. Okay? If they use a criteria like this, probably they won't be able to find anybody to do the job. Okay? Because previously, do we have any pavement in Ankara which we can say it's previous? No. Everything was built probably 5 years ago, the oldest, and they are being rebuilt once every 5 years. Okay? So 5 years, if you think that 5 years is enough, of course, then that might be your quality performance. Manpower resources. One thing that you should look for if you are looking for something special, do you think that it will be reasonable for the people in that company to handle your requirements? Another one is equipment resources. Another one is current workload. Now, you don't want to overload that specific company. If they are already having a few big projects, then it might be very difficult for you to accept the fact that they might do a good job, but they are already booked with some other projects. So you can see that what we have here are some notions that will lead us to performance, of course. And another thing that I can say about this part is that these are important because once you know that, you will be able to equally evaluate, if possible, each of the contractors. For example, one thing that I can say is look at the quality performance and look at the comments. For contractor A, your comment is good organization. Contractor B, good organization. Contractor C, good organization. Contractor D, good organization. Contractor E, bad organization. Now, you can see that if you have a bad organization, probably in the beginning, you are going to eliminate that possibility. Or nobody knows. You may want to continue with that, of course, depending whose money you are spending. Okay? If you are spending your own money, you keep that out. If you are spending somebody else's money, you still have some reasons to keep it in the list. Okay? So you can see that actually some of these might be hard conditions, but the others are comparable conditions. In one of them, one of the contractors might be better than the other one. Now, any questions on this? Okay. So what I will do now is I will simply go to the example that you are already familiar, and that's the example of how did you select your university. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to give me criterion names that will lead us, that led you to Bilkent University. Okay, so I'm going to write that on the board, and you're going to see how I'm going to handle that later on. Okay. Okay, so I think we can start. Anybody who is volunteering to give the first criteria that they use to select university? Okay, anybody who is willing to do that? I'll start to select some people. Okay, anybody who is willing to do that? Yes?
Academic rank?
Academic rank. How many of you believe that this is something that you mentioned or you considered when selecting Bilkent? Okay, let me see your hands. Okay, so 50%. Okay. Yes?
You said mine, but location?
Location. Okay, who selected Bilkent taking location criteria into account? 10%. Okay. Okay. Okay, more. I need at least 20. Yes? Okay. Language. Okay. Who thinks that language is a reasonable criteria? Okay, this is 80%. Okay. Are you taking these notes? Because I'm going to pick up somebody and ask for these numbers from you back after the lecture. Okay, because I don't have it myself, as you can understand. Okay, another one. Yes?
Academic staff.
Academic staff. Okay. Who looked at my picture before coming here? Okay. There is only one person. No. Okay, let me see academic staff. Okay, 15%. Okay, shh. Please, if you want to say something, say it to everybody rather than your friend. Okay, yes? International environment. Who thinks that this is a relevant criteria for his or her decision? Okay, 20%. By the way, these percentages are not precise, as you can guess. Okay, yes? Job opportunities upon graduation or during? Okay. Okay, stop murmuring. Okay, how many think that this was one of the factors? Okay. Okay. Okay, what else? Yes? Okay, so relations with North American universities. Why did you laugh?
There is no chance to go there.
Huh?
There is no chance to go there anymore.
Why? Your life is not going to end in 4 years. Okay. So were you talking about exchange programs or relations in general?
Not just exchange.
Okay. North American and European. Okay. How many of you thought that this was very important when they were making decision? Okay. Okay, more. Yes. Campus. Okay, sorry for not hearing. So how many of you think that this was a factor? Okay, so this is 60%. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
How university entrance exam?
Again, can you repeat that? I can't hear. Your rank in the university entrance exam. Well, you could have selected other universities as well. Oh, okay, so you didn't. Okay. Exam score. Now, okay. How many of you think that this was important? Okay, shh, 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 shh. I can't count. If you are too noisy, I cannot count. Okay, so this is basically 45%. Let me have your hands again. No, I think 45 is okay. Okay, anything else? Yes. Shh. Shh.
Social environment.
Social environment. Okay, let's see hands who think that this was one of the criterion that they have used. Okay, I can see that everybody in the back is like having two hands there. So you seem to be enjoying yourself. Okay. Okay, so this is, no, there are some people in the front as well. You don't know how pleasurable it is to sit in the front and do all those things that you are doing at the back. Whatever you are doing, of course. Okay. So this is 50%. Okay, anything else? Yes? I can't hear him. Dorms. Or, okay. Okay, dorms. Shh. Okay. 10%. Okay, anything else? Yes, shh. Can I see the hands who wants to give an answer? Okay, yeah. Louder.
Experience.
Experience of what? Of whom? Of the university's experience. Okay, how many of you thinks that this is a factor for your decision? Okay. Okay. Yes. Curriculum similarity with international. Let me see hands for this. Because when the murmur is going up, it means that you don't agree with it. So, okay, 10%. Okay, let me hear you. Yeah. Shh. Accreditation. Anybody who fall into this trap of accreditation? No. Anybody who thinks that this was, okay, Shh. Can I have your attention, please? You see, I don't have the microphone. Please, I don't have the microphone. So please don't talk among yourselves. Otherwise, it's getting very difficult for me to manage and understand anything. Okay, let's hear who selected the accreditation as a factor, as a criteria to come to Bilkent. Okay. Now, anything else? Okay, yes. Student quality. You mean this group? Okay, let us be a little bit more explicit. Student quality with respect to education standards or general? Okay. How many of you use this as a criterion to come to Bilkent? Okay, you can become friends. Okay, yes. Shh. Listen to your friend.
Advice of relatives, family.
So let's say others' opinion. Okay. How many of you did consider this seriously when you are making selection for Bilkent? Others' opinion include your parents, your schools, anybody else but you. This means that you, okay. Okay. Okay, do you think that the things that I have written here is, okay, can I have your attention now, please? Okay. Anybody else who want to add something? Yes. Quality of the library. Okay. Who took this as a criteria, as a criterion? Okay. 5%. Library includes the places that you can reach with electronically as well, of course. Okay. Okay. Now, I think we're set now. So if you stop murmuring, I will continue. Okay. Now, so we're set. I will hear from you later on. Now, you can see that with respect to different criteria, we have listed, I think, around 17 or 16, 17 criteria, which was used by different people in this classroom. Now, this question is important. Please look at those, and if you cannot find any criteria, if you cannot find the criteria that you used, you might have used 6, 7, and we might have here 2 or 3 of them. But if you don't find any of them, please raise your hand. In other words, I am looking for somebody who have not used any of this when making a decision.
Student clubs?
No. Okay, that's another one. Okay, labs. We're going to write that. But my question is, if you didn't use any one of those which are written on the board, raise your hand. Okay, so more or less, this is a set that will encompass the class, the students that we have in the classroom. Am I right? So this seems to be reasonable. Okay, now of course, we may work on this a little bit further. There are some of them which we might regroup these in a certain meaningful way. For example, one of them is infrastructure. Now, there are a number of criterion which are given under the title of infrastructure. Let's look at them. For example, campus, dorms. I didn't plan this before, by the way. I'm just looking at those, trying to bring them together. Dorms, and well, I think that's it. We might have a number of things under the title of social life. Okay, let's look at, for example, tell me which one is related to the social life. Social environment. Student quality. Well, student quality will be probably mentioned in another place as well. So student quality and location. Okay. Now, academic properties. So academic rank of the university, language, staff, international environment. Well, international environment will go here as well. Social life, and will go here as well, actually. Am I right? So do you accept this as a fact, or do you challenge it? Well, it depends on who said the international environment. Who offered that? Okay, so you were thinking both of them, or, okay. So I didn't do anything improper. Okay, academic and, well, okay, job opportunities, etc. Now you can see that what I can do is, by using these individual values, individual descriptions, I can regroup them and maybe obtain 5, 6 main groups of criteria, and underneath I might have some additional ones. So this is how I can easily create some kind of a hierarchy in between the performance measures. Now, how I am going to use this will be made clear once we start dealing with the methodology. But more or less, you can see that everybody is using similar ideas, similar criteria to deal with his or her problem. Of course, now I will ask you, and what do we have as percentages? Percentages reflect who are using that criteria, okay? Now, I can see that, for example, if you didn't use this criteria, university experience in teaching, then it means that that criterion is not important for you, okay? So your weight to that criteria is 0, in a way, okay? You don't give any weight. So you can see that we might have exactly the same set of criteria that we use when we are making a decision. But each of you are making decision individually, so your decisions are going to be different because you emphasize different things more than the others. Now, the fact that you are all here at the same place does not necessarily mean that you are thinking exactly the same way. Some of you are considering 6 of these as very important and making decision accordingly. The other group, another group might think about another 5 and think that they are important, and they selected Bilkent for that purpose. So this means that individually, when you are making decision individually, your preferences are not necessarily the same. So this is actually lesson number 1. I have a lot of people coming to me in the 3rd, 4th year, or even after graduation, saying that I have these 2 possibilities. So what do you think the best is going to be? Now, especially when you have this type of decisions where your personality, your personal characteristics, your family background, and your expectations of the future are completely different, okay, as individuals, it is very difficult for somebody to decide with the averages. Now, these percentages may only be used if we are interested on your average. But none of you here are going to decide on the averages. You're going to decide for yourself, okay? So this is one thing that you need to keep in mind in decision making. If your decision is structured, of course, then you don't have this problem, because minimizing distance is going to be the same for everybody. On the other hand, if the decision is something like selecting the university, then different issues are going to come into picture. Now, of course, we love to have all our decisions in a structured way, okay? So to become a robot to make decisions. However, personally, you are going to observe many different types of decision problems in your work life as well as in your personal life. So decision making has, part of it is your personality, even if the criteria that I give is exactly the same, okay? So this is actually the first thing that we're going to learn here. Any questions on this? Now, we're going to solve this example with Miguel, okay, who is going to select his college, okay, after in the second part of the course. Any questions on this? Okay. Anything that you want to add before it's too late? Now I can have your student clubs. How many of you goes for the student clubs? Okay. And I'm going to take your choice as well.
General reputation of graduates.
General reputation of graduates. Reputation is a critical word, actually. So if we are talking about, for example, in prison, it will be different. In work life, it will be different. In coffee places, it will be different. But reputation, we usually mean good things. How many of you selected Bilkent using this as criterion? Okay. Okay. So we have a yes coming from outside the classroom, making this 36%. Okay. Any questions that you may want to ask? Okay, let's take a break, and after the break, I'm going to use a method to solve this type of a problem.